What's up everyone, how you doing? Blue Nerd here and welcome back my friends to another Minecraft time lapse. Today guys we got something pretty special and this has got to be one of my favourite builds that I've done so far. I just absolutely enjoyed this one. Now I've been feeling super inspired by a bunch of Japanese and Oriental builds that I've seen on YouTube, and that kind of inspired me to sort of build this, and I wanted to do something really big. You know, I wanted to do something, I didn't want to do a little village or something small, I wanted to do something really big. So this one guys, I got really carried away with the building and I think it turned out pretty cool. I'm really happy with the looks of it. Now if you guys enjoyed this and you'd like to see me expand on this, please be sure to let me know in the comments below, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to smash that like button because it really helps me out and it lets me know that you guys want to see more content like this. Now with that being said guys, I decided to go ahead and do this one in the jungle. With the new bamboo in the game and pandas and stuff like that, it just felt like the right fit in place. So I decided to start up by going ahead and just sort of removing a bunch of trees and stuff out the way and just smoothing off a bit of the land here. Now I really like this part of the land here because we had a river that runs in very close, so I had a few ideas for that which we'll be getting to later on in the video. But for now guys, we're going to just smooth out that land a bit. I didn't go too crazy here, it was just kind of just creating a nice smooth slope down towards the river, and that was pretty much it. Now once I got everything all cleared out of the way and everything ready, I started making some plans. So I like to plan everything out with like either a coloured concrete or a coloured wall, something like that. It just makes it easier when you're building. Now obviously guys, if you're doing something like this in survival, it's not necessarily easy to gather up a bunch of coloured stuff, but you might be able to just gather up a bunch of different blocks. So if you're doing any plan on that, be sure to grab yourself a bunch of different blocks and use a different block for each piece of the plan, and it really helps. Now, like I said guys, this is going to be a pretty big build. I really wanted to build something huge, like a kind of temple, you know, some really big temple slash dojo or something along them lines. And I think it turned out really cool. I really like the shape of it. So I started out with using the acacia logs with the stripped birch log, which I think worked pretty well. But after a little bit, you see that I kind of decided to strip the acacia log because I wanted to get some of that orange in there. I know some of these big Japanese builds, they have like the orange and the green, and I think it blends so well together and just creates such a really nice sort of change to build with, because I build with a lot of stone and a lot of wood and stuff like that. So the orange and green is a really nice change, and it just, I don't know, I just really enjoy building with it. Now with this one guys, I do make a lot of changes along the way because it wasn't completely planned. This one was kind of just, I just went for it and just built, and I gotta say it really got me inspired building because I was doing a load of different things, probably too much at once, but I really enjoyed it. So there will be a few changes on and off with roofs and walls and stuff like that, but it turns out good, so that's all that matters in the end. Now for the Oriental roofs, I really like the fact that you get a lot of these little corners that kind of flick out and you get these little points, you know, these little points that just look so nice on the builds. So I tried to kind of put that in on all of the corners that I could. But again, not trying to do it too much because I still wanted to keep a nice sort of clean finish to the roof. Now as you can see here guys, there's a few changes I keep making along the way. Like I said, there was too many bumps at this point. I made too many little grooves and stuff like that. So I went ahead and edited it, and in the end it turned out a lot better. It looked a lot cleaner, but you could kind of see the details a lot better. You know, sometimes too much detail isn't better. It sometimes makes it look a bit unrealistic and kind of just creates a little bit too many bumps and shadows everywhere. Now, like I said guys, I wanted this one to be pretty huge. So once I got that bottom floor and stuff, we're going to start working this up. And honestly, I had no idea how high to go with this one because I've never done this kind of style build. So I kind of just went as high as it sort of felt that it looked right. So in a minute, you'll see that we'll start working on the next platform. And again, we're sticking with the same theme. The one thing I like with the Japanese builds is that a lot of the style of it is replicated around the build. So while their roofs are fairly detailed, the walls and stuff that are around are fairly simple. You know, you haven't got to go too crazy with them. Now again, I do make a lot of changes with them because here I started out by just putting too many trapdoors on, so I decided to remove some of it so we could see some of that stripped birch wall and sort of break it up a little bit, and that really helped. That just made the build look so much nicer. You know, if you go ahead and you start slapping in too many trapdoors, it really does look like too much. So it's nice to have that nice bit of white from the birch, or the cream from the birch, sort of coming through and showing you a bit of detail of the build. Now the roof took me so long to get in, guys. I didn't use World Edit for any of the roof. I done all of it by hand, although I am playing in creative. But I did do it all by hand because every sort of corner there was a little bit that stuck out, or a piece that flicked out this way and that way. So I decided to do everything by hand when it comes to the build. I think some of the walls I used a little bit of World Edit to replicate from one side to the next. But other than that, guys, everything else is all put in by hand. Now over on the right hand side here, as you can see, we've got a hole in this bit of the roof here. I decided that first of all that maybe just to make a small roof there, so we'd have just a small build that would be like attached to the side of the building. But as you can see in a second, I go ahead and I delete a bit of the roof and decide to expand this one up a little bit. It was looking a little bit too flat, and I just felt that it just needed to be raised up by that one more level. So I went ahead here and I made another level, and I messed around with a few different shapes for the roof here, but I liked this one that we came up with because it had a really nice kind of curve that kind of come up to a peak. And then here on the wall, guys, at the front, I changed this so many times. I honestly couldn't work out what I wanted to do with it. So I had so many different ideas, so I kind of tinkered around with it, but I came up with something that I was happy with in the end. You know, again, I was trying too hard to add too much detail at first, and it kind of just kept looking wrong. So I took a step back and just played it just nice and simple and clean with not too much detail, and it really helped. It really made the build work so much better. Now, once I finished up on that side, it was time to start working up on the actual main building itself. And as you can see, we're already up to the 3rd level here, and I didn't really want to go too much higher with this. There's a little balcony on the 3rd level there, as you can see, and on the inside we've got a little kind of walkway that runs around on every floor, so that you've got a nice big ceiling in the center, so you can look right up through the build when you're in the middle of it. Now here again, guys, I kept this fairly simple. The roof at the very top here, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with it. I messed around with a couple of styles, and this roof here that I'm doing at the moment, I really liked this style, but it didn't feel like it fit with the build properly. So I decided to go ahead and remove it and changed it, and we made a nice kind of peak in the end, which you'll see me do in just a moment. And I think it turned out much better in the end. Now one thing here as well, guys, we decided to go ahead and make a nice little curve on the roof at the top there, just to give it a little bit more of that fantasy vibe. I think a lot of the Japanese and Oriental style builds, they're full of colours and they're full of kind of fantasy style looking builds. So, you know, with the Oriental builds, you can really get carried away and do a bunch of crazy things with them. So I'm looking forward to doing a bit more of a village. So if you guys want to see a bigger village, like I said, be sure to let me know in the comments, because I really think that we could expand on this village and make it look so cool. And I've got this thing with really making this area look peaceful, you know. A lot of these Japanese builds that you see out in the middle of nowhere, you got a lot of these kind of hidden areas that look really peaceful and tranquil, you know. They're really sort of nice, and that's kind of what I was going for with this build. That's why I wanted the river nearby, because I think that river really helps create that sort of peaceful aspect to the build, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, once we got the roof in, guys, I started to work on some of the area below, on the walkways and pathways and stuff like that I wanted to get in place. Now, first of all, I wanted to just clean up over on the left-hand side of the build there, as you can see, because we have a couple of little entrances into the bottom of this build. Because it's so big, I wanted to make a few entrances. So we went ahead and done that, got in some pathways, which I do go ahead and change in a minute. I make it all cool dirt, because the gravel and the cool dirt just don't look right here. The colors are too different, so I went ahead and changed that up in just a minute. But yeah, I gotta say, guys, this one really inspired me. Now for this one as well, I wanted to make it look really pretty. Like I said, I wanted to make it look really peaceful. So the only way I could really do this here was by creating a bunch of kind of like, not quite fields, but like lots of like flowery style pots and stuff. So before I do that, you can see down the front here, I'm getting in a little fence around the water. This isn't any docks or anything like that. This is just a little walkway by the river, just to create somewhere where, you know, somewhere peaceful to walk. And just, yeah, just somewhere that generally looked nice. Now over here, guys, you can see that I'm starting to get in those flower pots that I was talking about. And I wanted to really kind of blend these in with the land, so I really tried to keep all of the shape in with all of the curves of all of the terrain and stuff like that. And overall I think they turned out really good, and they blended in perfect with the environment, so I think this worked out really well. Now, as you can see over the back there, guys, I'm adding in a bunch of flowers, and I kind of went for a mix. So although you can't really see it from this point, all of these flower pots here are combined with 2 different flowers. They're just the same color flowers, so you can't see it, but it helps make them look a little bit more sort of varied. Now, once I got all of the flower pots and that in, I wanted to do something else with the rest of the walkways as well. So in a minute you'll see I'll start sort of making a proper pathway and fixing in some more lines and stuff for all of the walkways. Now, before we do that, guys, I do plan on building a bridge, so I decided to clear out a bit more room over on the little island on the other side. So we just cleared out a little bit of room and just sort of organized a bit of the land there, and I will come back to that and sort of clean it all up in a little bit. But for now, I just wanted it to just look it's just enough shape there just so we could get a bridge across, because I think a little bridge right across that little island there would look really cool. Now, this is just over by the left hand side of the build, guys. I just wanted to put something over here because it was looking a bit plain. So we got some berry fields there and a bunch of the bamboo as well. Down here, I wanted to start with building a Torii Gate. I know there's been a lot of people building Torii Gates recently, and I went with one with a fairly simple design. I didn't want it to be too big or too crazy, just a nice little one down by the river. Now, over here, guys, this is where I started getting in the sort of little edges for the walkways. You know, I wanted it to look like they're sort of made up paths, and I think later on I might go and change up the cool dirt for some spruce wood. I think it would look better here, kind of make it look like platforms have been built into the area rather than opposed to there being sort of dirt paths going through the place. Now here, guys, I started working on the bridge. Like I said, I wanted to do a really cool little bridge again with that same theme as the build. So we went again with the stripped acacia wood, and we used the dark prismarine for the roof. Now again here, guys, the roof really did take me a while on this one because I couldn't get a shape that I was happy with. I wanted these flared out corners, you know, with the little spikes out of the corners, but I couldn't get them to look right. So it took me a while to get it, but once I got one side, I just started replicating it to the other side, and it all worked out in the end. As you can see, it looked pretty cool, and then we had that one single strip that went from one side to the next and then through the center of the builds, and that really finished it off. I think that really sort of was all we needed. But I don't know, there's just something about this bridge that I really like. So if you guys want to see a tutorial for this, be sure to let me know that in the comments as well, because that was actually a lot more simpler than it looks. Alright, guys, I'm going to sit back and let you enjoy the rest of the cinematics, but if you could do me a huge favour and let me know in the comments if you'd like me to expand on this village, and also let me know your thoughts and suggestions below as well. That would be much appreciated. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to smash that like button, because it really does help me out, and it lets me know that you want to see more videos like this in the future. If you're new to the channel, then please consider subscribing. Just don't forget to hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. But for now, this is Blue Nerd signing out, and I will catch you guys in the next one.